Well, welcome everyone. Today I'm going to be giving a presentation on movement and somatic tools. So just to start off, I'm going to do a little land acknowledgement, and I'll read it here for us. We acknowledge that our training platform operates on the ancestral and unceded lands of the Arapaho, Cheyenne, and Ute peoples. We also acknowledge the ancestral and unceded lands of all locations where our students are located. We honor their enduring relationship with this land and recognize their resilience and contributions to somatic healing. As we connect, we commit to listening, learning, and collaborating with Indigenous communities to foster healing and reconciliation. Our inclusivity statement. Our trainings are dedicated to creating a safe and inclusive environment for all individuals seeking to expand their areas of expertise and gain more knowledge of all backgrounds, cultures, and identities, including but not limited to sorry. Um, we welcome participants of all backgrounds, cultures, and identities, including but not limited to race, ethnicity, gender, and sexual orientation, ability, and socioeconomic status. We believe that healing is a collective journey, and we strive to honor diverse perspectives and experiences in our somatic healing practices. We are committed to ensuring that everyone feels seen, heard, and valued as they engage in our workshop sessions. As for me, my name is Zach. My path to social work actually began with the physical body. My undergrad degree is in kinesiology from the University of Minnesota Twin Cities, and I spent some time working as a personal trainer. While I loved the science of movement, I started to realize that helping someone truly heal required a more holistic lens that included the mind and the nervous system. So this led me to my MSW program at MSU Denver and my work here at Light Movement. In my own life, I find somatic grounding through nature walks, solo rounds of golf, probably my favorite, and watercoloring. I found that whether it's through simple box breathing exercise or a hike in the woods, engaging in my body is an essential gateway to emotional healing. I'm excited to blend these perspectives with you guys today. At its core, light movement exists to remind anyone experiencing grief that they're not alone. Our mission is to empower people by providing somatic-based and traumatic-informed resources that help them move through their loss with dignity. Our vision is a world where grief isn't hidden away, but it's met with community and light. As for who we are a collective of practitioners and volunteers, including MSW interns like myself, who believe that healing happens when we honor the whole person. To expand on who we are is to understand our goals as an organization. And these include reminding people that they're not alone. It's to teach the science of grief and somatic-based tools to support mind-body integration, leading to meaning making and purpose in grief. It's to provide additional support and resources to help people in their grief, as well as stand in solidarity with people in all types of grief and loss with a social justice lens. To understand our approach, we have to look at two core pillars, one being trauma-informed and grief-informed care. To be trauma-informed means that we recognize many people carry histories of adversity that affect their nervous system. We prioritize safety, choice, and empowerment in everything that we do to ensure that we aren't re-traumatizing the folks that we serve. Being grief-informed goes a step further by acknowledging that grief is a natural, non-linear response to loss, not a problem to be solved or a phase to get over. We don't try to fix the pain. Instead, we create a supportive environment that honors the person's unique timeline and their physical reality of the experience. So most of us are familiar with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's 5 stages: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. While these stages give us a helpful language for the heavy emotions of loss, it's important to remember that grief is rarely a linear process. You don't simply move on from one of these stages to the next. It's kind of what the picture on the left shows. It's also crucial to note that Kubler-Ross's original research was specifically centered on the experiences of terminally ill patients facing their own mortality. Since then, her framework has been widely extrapolated and at times oversimplified by others to fit broader narratives of grief. While these stages are helpful guide, they aren't originally intended to be a universal one fits all for everyone experiencing loss. So this misconception, grief is not linear. There's no real prescribed way to grieve. And that's really represented in this photo here on the right. I'm sure many of you can relate to grief being a more messy experience. And especially important to note that grief is different for everyone. So your experience might be extremely different from someone who also is experiencing grief. Another misconception to talk about um, is that with time, your grief slowly gets smaller and smaller. But in reality, it stays the same and we grow around it. I like to think a lot about a different analogy of what happens when a tree gets struck by lightning. So a bunch of things happen to this tree, right? A lot of the tree is damaged. The tree will probably never look the same. And yet the strike stays there forever. But yet the tree still grows, the tree can heal, and again, the tree is changed forever. So, like the tree, and seen in this graphic here, as grief stays the same size, we grow around our grief. So, I want to introduce a concept called the window of tolerance. When we're inside our window, we tend to feel more present, connected, and able to respond to life. That's our green zone. When we move outside of our green zone, we may go into either hyper arousal or hypo arousal, either like fight or flight or kind of freeze. Hyper arousal can feel like things like anxiety, racing thoughts, anger, panic, or feeling on edge. Hypo arousal, on the bottom part of our screen, feels like numbness, we shut down, depression, withdrawal, or even disconnection. It's important to note that neither of these hyperarousal or hypoarousal states are failures. They're just protective responses. They're trying to let you know what you need. So increasing our window of tolerance isn't about forcing ourselves to be calm all the time. Instead, it's about building the capacity to stay present with intense emotions without being hijacked by them. So we do this with a process called titration. In the same way that we might slowly adjust to a change in temperature, we can lean into small, manageable edges of our discomfort and then immediately return to a state of safety. So every time we successfully navigate a small ripple of stress and bring ourselves back to center, we're effectively toning our nervous systems and widening that window of tolerance. Over time, these repeated experiences of regulation send signals of safety to our brain. This gradual conditioning allows the edges of our window to expand. And eventually, the situations that used to push us into total shutdown or state of panic um, become things that we can actually hold on to, process, and move through while still staying connected to ourselves. I like to think about different examples of when to practice this and not. And the cow in the parking lot, if you're familiar with it, is a great example of when to practice coming back into your window of tolerance. So if you can close your eyes, you can just keep them open, you can think about it here with me. But imagine that you just read about a really good restaurant that opens up down the road at a new shopping mall. And you're really excited to go. You get in your car, take 20 minutes to get there. You get to the parking lot and you notice, oh my goodness, there are a million people here. You get in the parking lot, you do one loop, you don't find anything. You do another loop, you still don't see any open spots. Do a third loop, maybe you're on your fourth loop here. And you finally see a spot open up, put on your blinker, you let everyone know that you're turning in. But it's just as you're about to turn in, a big old Jeep Wrangler goes screaming into that spot, and maybe they give you some angry words or visuals that you don't really like. All right, how do you feel? Probably a little frustrated, right? Your spot was just taken, you did the right part, and putting your blinker on and signaling that you want to go. But what has to happen now? You have to find a new spot. No matter what, you can get out, you can be angry, but you have to find a new parking spot. So let's change that situation. Same thing is happening. You hear about this great restaurant, you drive 20 minutes, you get to the parking lot, it's extremely busy. You do a few loops, and you finally see an open spot. You put your blinker on, and all of a sudden, instead of a Jeep Wrangler, a big old cow decides to slowly saunter into that spot, turn around, and moo at you. How do you feel? Well, I feel like there are many ways that you can feel, but you're probably a little confused and maybe you find it a little bit funny. But this is a great example of a time to practice coming back into your window of tolerance. Not something that's going to put you into total panic, but an opportunity for you to practice some skills. Not a great example. Maybe you just got in a car crash and you need to worry about your own personal safety and the safety of others in your car and maybe the other car. So let's talk a little bit about grief. When we talk about grief, we focus on typically our thoughts and emotions. But the reality is that grief is a full body experience. It doesn't just live in our minds, it settles into our muscles, our breath, our nervous system. You might feel it as heaviness in your chest, maybe a constant state of fatigue, or even a sense of restlessness that just makes it hard to sit still. This happens because our bodies process deep loss as a threat to our safety, often keeping us stuck in a state of high alert. By acknowledging that we hold these stories and our losses physically, we can begin to use movement and breath to gently release some of that tension. Understanding this physical connection is the first step in moving from just surviving our grief to actually living in it with a more integrated and holistic way. So today we're going to explore movement and somatic tools. Somatic simply means working with the body as a whole system. It comes from the word soma, meaning the living organism in its wholeness. Somatic grief work recognizes that grief impacts us physically, emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually. Through gentle movement, breath, awareness, and nervous system support, we can create spaces for grief to move instead of getting stuck. The vagus nerve is one of the main communication highways between your brain and your body. I'll be talking about this a lot. It runs from your brainstem down through your face, your throat, your heart, lungs, and into your gut. Because of this, it plays a huge role in how we experience stress, safety, connection, and relaxation. You can think of the vagus nerve as a part of your body's built-in calming system. So when it's activated in a supportive way, it sends signals that help slow your heart rate, deepen your breathing, soften your muscles, and bring you back into a sense of safety and presence. Grief and trauma often keeps our nervous system stuck in survival mode, either feeling anxious and overwhelmed or numb and shut down. The vagus nerve helps us move out of those states and back towards regulation. That's why we focus on practices that stimulate the vagus nerve. Things like gentle movement, breathing, humming, stretching, and grounding help remind the body that it's safe. These tools just don't take grief away, but they can support your nervous system so you can have more capacity to feel, process, and move through what you're carrying. So let's talk about these three keys. Contraction and expansion pendulation is the practice of gently moving between tightening and opening in the body. This back and forth helps the nervous system learn that it's safe to move between activation and relaxation. By noticing both contraction and release, the body builds flexibility, regulation, and capacity instead of just getting stuck in one singular state. So some examples of this are breathing, right? You are contracting and expanding. Your heartbeat, pump of your heart. If you're a swimmer, you can think about the breaststroke, right? Contraction, expansion. Moving to bilateral movements, these use both sides of your body in a rhythmic and alternating way, like walking or tapping, as you see on the screen, left and right, or gentle marching. This back and forth motion helps the brain and the nervous system organize and regulate. Bilateral movement can reduce feelings of overwhelm, increase grounding, and support a sense of balance and stability in the body. Another way to stimulate the vagus nerve is humming, because it creates gentle vibrations in the throat, vocal cords, and chest, where the vagus nerve runs. These vibrations send calming signals to the nervous system, helping slow the heart rate and support relaxation. Humming is a simple body-based way to signal safety and support regulation. So how do you know which somatic activity is right for you? We're going to talk about meeting the mood. So if you're feeling nervous, anxious, or hyper-aroused, grounding and soothing practices can help. Things like movement, gentle rocking, orienting yourself to your space, or even just feeling your feet beneath you on the floor. If anger or agitation is present, sometimes the body just needs a little bit of discharge. Shaking or pushing against a wall, squeezing something, lifting heavy weights, or strong exhalation can help release energy safely. And if you're numb or shut down, gentle stimulation can be supported. Temperature changes, holding something textured, light stretching, stepping outside, or even naming just 5 things around you that you can see. The key is curiosity here, not judgment. Your body is just communicating with you. And again, important to note that everyone is different. So what works for me might not work for you. Be curious with this and see what works for your body. All right, so let's start with feeling nervous. Maybe it's because you're giving your first workshop presentation like me. Maybe you're having racing thoughts. Maybe the goal is going to be to bring this attention into your body to slow your nervous system and create some grounding. We're going to talk about box breathing. Box breathing is a simple breathing technique where you can you inhale, you hold, you exhale, and you hold again, each for the same count, 4 seconds. This steady rhythm helps activate the vagus nerve, sending signals to the nervous system that it's safe to slow down. It encourages calm, focus, and regulation, even when we're feeling anxious or overwhelmed. Box breathing is a powerful somatic tool because it always is available. Just a few cycles can help settle the body, bring awareness back into the present, and create space for grounded, intentional movement or thought. Really good for me because I'm not an expert in meditation, and counting to 4 is just about right. So let's practice this together. We're going to breathe in 4, 3, 2, 1, pause, 4, 3, 2, 1, breathe out, 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold, 4, 3, 2, 1. Feel free to do this as many times as feels good to you. Another great exercise is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding exercise. It's a simple way to bring yourself back into the present moment when you're feeling anxious, overwhelmed, or disconnected. This sensory focus helps shift your attention out of racing thoughts or these intense emotions and back into your body and your surroundings. As a somatic tool, this exercise supports regulation by gently activating the nervous system, creating a sense of safety and grounding. So let's practice this together. Take a look around your room, whatever room that you are sitting in. Try to notice 5 things that you see. For me, I see my glass of water, I see a few lights, the colors on my keyboard changing. What I can hear right now is the hum of my computer. I can hear the hum of my humidifier and my cat playing in the background. I might be able to touch my desk. I can touch the sticky keys on my keyboard. And as you get to smell and taste, it might be a little more difficult. I can smell maybe the lemon in my water, and maybe just notice the air around me. And for taste, maybe it's the taste of my water with the lemon again. If there's nothing around you, you can maybe just taste and see how your tongue feels in the air. So let's say that we're feeling anger. Maybe it's high activation, but often paired with a need for expression and release rather than just calming alone. So somatic techniques for anger focuses on grounding, safe expression, and redirecting this energy so it doesn't stay stuck in our body. Here are some techniques. Shaking. When we're in hyperarousal and our bodies are full of this activated energy, we might feel anxious, restless, overwhelmed. Shaking gives us that excess energy someplace to go. It's a natural response to the body uses to release stress. You can see it in animals after a threat passes, right? By gently shaking it out, we allow some tension and adrenaline to move through instead of staying stuck. So as a somatic tool, shaking helps discharge this built up activation. It supports our nervous system regulation and brings us back into our bodies. This can be playful or subtle, big or small. There's no really right way to do it. So I invite you to do it here. If you want, you can shake your hands out. I'm not going to get up and dance right now, but if you're feeling a lot of added energy, maybe you need to get up and do a full on, big old shake. Even to 30 to 60 seconds of this can help reset your system. Another one is expressive writing. Again, when we're in this hyperarousal state, our thoughts often race, and emotions feel intense or extremely overwhelming. Expressive writing gives us an opportunity to give that someplace to go. This isn't about grammar or even making sense. It's just about getting what's inside out onto the page. Writing freely helps move activation out of the mind and into the body through our hands, creating a sense of release and organization. As a somatic tool, expressive writing supports regulation by slowing the nervous system, increasing clarity, and helping us feel less stuck in looping thoughts. All right. Like shaking, progressive muscle relaxation is a practice where we gently tense and then release different muscle groups throughout the body. When we're stressed or grieving, we often hold on to this tension without realizing it. This technique helps bring some awareness back into our body and teaches our nervous system the difference between tight and relaxed. As a somatic tool, progressive muscle relaxation supports this vagus nerve activation by slowing breath, softening muscles, and signaling safety to our system. It helps reduce anxiety, release stored tension, and again, bring us back into that present moment. So let's practice this together. You can choose any of the ones you see on the screen here. One of my favorites is gripping and squeezing my fists. Again, no real right or wrong way to do this. You can do this as hard or as soft as you would like. I like focusing on my fists. So I think about squeezing, going full as hard as I can for about 5 seconds, and being sure to pay attention to how I feel before, during, and after. So if you'd like, you can do it with me here. I'm going to squeeze for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. So for me, I feel a release and I feel a little bit of heat, but as I kind of sit with it, a presence of like a feeling of calm. All right. So let's say we're on that bottom part of the window of tolerance in hypoarousal. So maybe we're feeling numb, shut down, disconnected, depressed. Essentially, the nervous system is just moving too slow, often stuck in a freeze or shutdown response. Our somatic approaches here aim to gently bring energy back into our body, create movement and stimulation, and restore connection to our senses and our environment. So let's talk about belly breathing or diaphragmatic breathing here. This is a way of breathing that uses the diaphragm instead of short, shallow breaths in the chest. When we breathe this way, we send signals through the vagus nerve and tell the system that it's safe to slow down. The heart rate can decrease, muscles can soften, and the body begins to move out of stress mode. In grief or overwhelm, our breathing often becomes shallow or held. So this diaphragmatic breathing helps restore this natural rhythm and brings awareness back in our body. As a tool, it's powerful because it's always available, much like our box breathing. Just a few slow belly breaths can support regulation, increase grounding, and help us feel more present and connected. So I want you to pay special attention to the movement of your belly and diaphragm as we take as we do this 3-part breath. So I'm going to invite you to practice here along with me. Part 1, you're going to inhale through your nose, allowing your belly to expand softly as the breath moves into your lungs. And then we're going to exhale through our nose, tightening our abdominal muscles and drawing our belly button to our spine, allowing as much air as possible to escape our lungs. So we can do this here together. Part 2 of this exercise is much of the same, just with one added step. We're again going to inhale through the nose, allowing the belly to expand, and then allow the breath to expand the rib cage as well. When you exhale through your nose, squeeze the air out of your rib cage and belly until they're empty. So we're going to breathe in, feel the air come into the belly and rib cage, and breathe out, expelling all the air from your rib cage. Part 3 is taking it, again, one step further. We're going to inhale through our nose, allowing our belly to expand as the breath moves in through our lungs and rib cage. And then invite the breath into our upper chest, way up here, all the way up to our pectoral muscles and our clavicle. Then we're going to exhale fully. So we'll try this again, making sure to get the air all the way up to our chest. So breathe in. If you'd like, you feel free to put a hand on your chest and your belly to feel that extra movement. Now looking over to the other part of our screen here, splashing cold water on our face helps activate the body's dive reflex. This is a built-in response that sends signals through our vagus nerve to wake our nervous system up. So when we're in that hypoarousal state, we might feel numb and foggy, heavy, shut down. These cold sensations provide immediate sensory input that helps bring us back to the present moment and out of freeze. As a tool, cold water increases alertness, reconnects us with our bodies, and helps us create enough activation to move towards regulation. It's a simple, accessible way to feel more awake, grounded, and unstuck. If you don't have access to splashing water on your face, maybe you can step outside into the cold, or maybe you have an ice pack nearby. Any type of change in temperature can work. Grounding here, sometimes called earthing, is the practice of reconnecting with your present moment through senses and your body. It's about bringing awareness back to what's happening right here, right now, instead of staying stuck in our emotions. Earthing specifically refers to connecting with nature, like standing on grass, touching trees, breathing fresh air, or simply noticing the sounds and textures around you. Nature offers a natural sense of safety and regulation for our nervous systems. When we're grieving or overwhelmed, our bodies often move into survival states, feeling anxious, disconnected, and shut down. Grounding helps bring us back into our bodies by engaging our senses and reminding our nervous system that we are here and that we are safe. This is why grounding is such a powerful somatic tool. It helps slow the stress response, supports vagus nerve activation, and creates a sense of stability and presence. You can even pair earthing with our 5-4-3-2-1 grounding exercise. This is one of my favorite ways when going on a nature walk or hike to just notice the world around me. Again, take the time to notice all the things you can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. Gardening is another form of embodied connection with the earth, a new favorite of mine, truly. It invites us to slow down, use our hands, and engage in multiple senses all at once, like touch, smell, sight, and movement. When we garden, we're naturally grounding ourselves through repetitive, gentle actions like digging, planting, watering, and tending. These movements help regulate our nervous system and can activate the vagus nerve by encouraging steady breathing, focused attention, and a sense of rhythm. Gardening also offers something especially meaningful for grief. It connects us to the cycles of life, growth, and change. Even in seasons of loss, something new is slowly starting to take shape. This doesn't fix grief, but it can create moments of presence, purpose, and softness. Again, as a tool, gardening helps us bring ourselves out of our heads and back into our bodies. It supports regulation and fosters connection with nature and creates space for emotions to move through rather than stay stuck in our bodies. Last, art gives us a way to express what can be hard to put into words. It invites us into the body through movement, color, texture, and creativity, whether that's drawing, painting, collage, or any kind of making. When we create art, we're engaging in our senses and our hands, which helps us shift out of thinking mode and into an embodied experience. The simple act of moving a brush or holding a pencil or even shaping clay can support nervous system regulation by slowing our breath down, softening our body, and creating a focused attention. Art, again, can be especially powerful in grief because it allows emotions to move through us without needing to explain or analyze them. There's no right or wrong outcome. It's just about the process, not product. So I have a few questions that I'd like to pose to the group here, or you can think about them on your own. But what are some other somatic activities that you can think of? Maybe you've done some activities in the past that you didn't realize were somatic activities. And is there anything that you can recognize currently that helps you get back into your window of tolerance? These simple questions will help you kind of expand on what we just talked about and think of other activities that you can do to engage in nervous system regulation. Here are some of our resources that we have through Light Movement and other resources that help supply this presentation. And I will now start to talk about a little bit about what we do here at Light. We offer a variety of different programs, such as gentle grief and trauma-informed yoga, a new class called Sewing for the Soul, and a grief series, which is actually what you're listening to right now. Coming up in 2026, we have grief from burnout retreats, workshops, different workshops for all ages, talking about grief in our bodies, and our annual solstice events. If you're interested in volunteering or getting involved with Light Movement in any way, take a look at our QR code here. We have volunteer training once a month that you'd be able to partake in and learn more about Light Movement. And at this point, I'm going to transition over to Amy to talk a little bit more about our YTT and CE.